Welcome to the first of a series of videos on Zen for beginners. So for this series, you don't need to know anything about Zen. You don't need to know anything about Buddhism. It's for beginners. Absolute beginners. It's very difficult being an absolute beginner because we always think we know something. But here, the less you know, the better. Which is quite curious really, because it's possible you might have looked into Buddhism already. Or you might at least have an idea about what Buddhism is. You might have seen some images, some statues of the Buddha, either in temples or in living rooms. A meditating Buddha or a standing Buddha is quite a popular adornment to room decor. You might also be aware that Buddhism is quite old. It's been around for thousands of years, about 2,500 years. And there are a lot of books about it. There are a lot of different kinds of Buddhists. Where do you begin? You might have started reading a book about Buddhism and then encountered lots of lists, lots of terminology, lots of philosophies, lots of ways to meditate, lots of images. You might know that some countries have Buddhism as their national religion. Lots of countries are termed Buddhist. Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Tibet, Japan, and China. China used to be Buddhist. Afghanistan used to be Buddhist. A lot of India used to be Buddhist. So it's a massive phenomenon, isn't it? Buddhism is a massive phenomenon. But here, as far as this series is concerned, we're going to start from the beginning as much as possible, because this is actually the challenge, beginning from the beginning. We normally begin somewhere which we believe is the beginning, but it's not. Anyway, I am going to be using a Buddhist text. It's called the Lanka Sutra. And the edition I'm going to be using is one that was translated from the Sanskrit language into English by D.T. Suzuki, Professor D.T. Suzuki of Japan, which was originally published in 1932. So, why this text? Why the Lanka Sutra? Well, this text is linked to the origins of Zen. But I'll say more about that another time. Now, it might look like a rather dusty, boring old text, but the Lanka Sutra is not really a book. It's not a book in any sense that we normally understand the word. It looks like a book, but what the Lanka Sutra is a cosmic event. It's not a cosmic event while it's like this in the form of a closed book. It's the reading of the Lanka Sutra that is a cosmic event. And it's a cosmic event in the sense that it's going to affect your cosmos. It's going to turn it around. This is how many in the past became enlightened. They became enlightened by hearing a particular text or a particular phrase, a particular sutra. So what does this mean, becoming enlightened? Well, I'm going to begin, contrary to what I said at the beginning, at the very end. At the very end of my edition of Professor Suzuki's translation. And the end of my book seems to have been cut off at page 300 because it's an appendix and Professor Suzuki is going to do some scholarly comparison between different versions of the sutra. But I'm just going to paraphrase one particular paragraph which kind of sums it all up. It sums up what the sutra is about and it sums up what the Zen is about. So it's saying that the Lankavatara Sutra, asserts the existence of a reality which is perceivable only by the eye of transcendental knowledge, which is in the possession of a wise man. It is the exalted, ultimate self-nature of all things, and as it can be recognized only when our spiritual eye looks beyond the realm of discriminations, which is ruled by laws of being and non-being, it is also called the truth of solitude, or the absolute. So I've missed out a couple of rather splendid Sanskrit words here. I'll maybe come back to these another time. But there's enough there to be considering. So there's a reality which is perceivable only by the eye of transcendental knowledge, which is rooted in wisdom. So wisdom is what apprehends this reality. This reality is the ultimate self-nature of all things. It's beyond the realm of discriminations. And the discriminations are all the differences that we make. Our mind is constantly singling things out. Our mind is constantly weighing things up, making contrasts, deciding whether it likes something or not, and so on. So we're talking about a reality beyond all that. A reality which isn't ruled by laws of being and non-being. And this sums up our everyday reality. Life and death, absence and presence, having something, not having something, loving, hating. These are the sorts of discriminations we make. And this reality, this transcendental reality, it can also be called the truth of solitude. And he spells solitude with a capital S, or the absolute, because it has nothing to do with our everyday reality. The reality which Zen is concerned with has nothing to do with ordinary reality. The reality of the mind, the reality of our likes and dislikes, and so on. So the question which arises is, how do we open the eye of transcendental knowledge? How do we attain to this wisdom? How do we realize the absolute? And as I said, the easiest way is to read the text. And that's what I'll begin doing in the next video.